Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Sonia from Unacademy and Coach Chef team. Sorry about the delay, guys. There's been a little bit of trouble at our end, which we were trying to resolve. If you're there watching the session, please type in a hi or something in the comments so that I know the stream's working fine. I will also check it and then we can get started on the session. Hi Deva, Amit, Afia. Hi Afia. Hey, good to see you. All right. The session today is Introduction to Competitive Programming. I hope, I hope you guys are still there in the class. Hello. Oh, just press escape. Hi guys. This is a special class that I'm taking on YouTube. Just kind of introducing competitive programming to all of you guys. But before that, let me introduce myself. Hi folks, I'm Sonia Motwani. I am an instructor with Unacademy and Coach Chef for the past few months. I have 7 years of work experience. I'm a BITS Pilani grad and I have worked with companies in the finance space in the past. So, banks, NBFCs, fintech companies are what I have worked with mostly. I know some of the learners in today's session have been attending my classes before, but I see a lot of new people as well. Hi, folks. Everybody who's there watching the video right now, just type in a hi. And then let's get started. Hey, Rahul. Hi, Raj. All right. Um, there and because there are a lot of new learners in this class today, just wanted to introduce. Hi, SK. Just want to introduce Unacademy to you as well. Unacademy is a free online learning platform. You can create an account free of cost with your phone number and email ID and access. Create a goal that you want to achieve and access a lot of unlimited classes and videos on the platform. I take a lot of classes on Unacademy free of cost in the evenings mostly. So just in case you guys are looking to see how and what kind of classes we keep conducting on a regular basis, you can follow me on Unacademy as well. But apart from this as well, we have some structured learning courses for you that are designed specially. I'll talk about these towards the end of the session. Don't want to digress too much time. We're already a little late. But these structured learning path courses that we have created are actually come under the Unacademy Plus subscription, where where there are multiple plans in which you can choose, pay for the subscription, and then join these batches. I'll tell you about the benefits of it, like interactive classes and then practicing relevant problems on Coach Chef platform and a doubt support platform, etc., that you get there. Okay. All right. Starting the presentation with a positive thought. Small steps lead to big changes. Yes. 2020 was the year where we made a lot of errors, digressed away from learning. 2021 is the year that you should actually stop procrastinating and start your learning journey in competitive programming. But before that, it's important to understand what is competitive programming and what do you do, and why are you learning this, what is your eventual goal towards it, right? So this session is actually this session is actually to give you guys an idea about what competitive programming is, and what is it that you can do if you want to learn, if you want to grow ahead, if you set a goal for yourself and you want to follow through with that, right? So competitive programming is basically solving coding problems using data structures and algorithms. There are multiple people that participate in a contest, like the way competitive programming is. Competitive programming, basically you need to write a code under various restrictions and memory limits, execution time, space limit, etc. So competitive because a lot of people are competing in it, and we are using data structures and algorithms to solve all of these problems, and you're writing a code under a lot of restrictions. So these are all the things that are a part of competitive programming. A winner is declared based on some problem solved and the time spent on writing successful programming solutions. Yeah, it is also it also includes some other factors like the quality of output produced, execution time, and the program size, right? While it really depends very heavily on what are the kind of problems that are solved and how successful are your solution, it also depends on factors like the quality produced, the execution time, and the program size. The reason why we say this is because even if your outcome is correct in competitive programming, your submission is not correct, your submission is not evaluated as correct unless you are following all the restrictions, unless you are able to create that code under all the restrictions like time and coding space limits. Okay, all right. Some important skills that we must have as a part of, as a part of ourselves in order to perform well in competitive programming, if that's one way that we can think about it, right? So algorithmic skills, basic mathematical skills, programming skills, typing speed, debugging, all of these are very very essential and very very important in are very important skills in competitive programming. Yeah. I'm sorry, I think something with the stream. Yeah, the next type is the complete search. Yes, so you should be able to understand. You should be able to understand how to use brute force to search the entire space. You should be able to understand how to beat the time limit, optimize the search, because lots of time and memory restrictions that are there in competitive programming. Yeah. Hi Rafiq, how are you? One should be able to divide and conquer, solve problems by breaking it into smaller parts, creating subparts using dynamic programming, doing binary research, and coding smaller parts of a problem before completely assessing it. And dynamic programming, very very important to understand the problem state. And faster and more elaborative recursive backtracking is something that all of us should have. So in competitive programming, it's not just your coding and your basic algorithmic skills, but also multiple other things that are important for you in order to achieve an ace in this complete field. Like we were discussing, you are solving coding problems using data structures and algorithms, but you need to write this code under various restrictions. So there are memory limit, execution time, a lot of restrictions that are there, and the winner is not only decided by the kind of code that you write, but also all the conditions have been met correctly or not, right? And I'm sure everybody wants to understand, how is it that you should achieve all your comparative programming goals. And this is the first thing that everybody has in mind, right? We understand now what is comparative programming. We understand what we are going to be doing in learning this. We want to know, one, where is it that we will apply, uh, what are the kind of roles that we may end up getting, etc. That's one. And second is, how is it that we achieve this. How many people are interested to understand how you will apply all of these learnings into how you will apply all the learnings from competitive programming into your workplace or work environment? Or maybe some of you want to achieve some of you want to learn how to achieve these goals. Which one is it that you're interested in learning? I will start with that category first. Yeah. How to achieve these goals, or what are the final outcomes of learning competitive programming? What do you want to understand? Come on, folks, at least the regular ones that keep attending my sessions constantly. You know that all our classes are interactive in nature, and we proceed only when we discuss amongst each other. Yes. So tell me, what is it that you would like to understand first? What's the final outcome, Rahul? Okay. Rafiq, I think you are indicating the same thing. What's the final outcome? All right. Okay. So, yeah, the final outcome, in competitive programming, there are a lot of online judges, where you can join in and participate in competitions, right? Um, Coming to that section of the slides, yeah, there are a lot of platforms where you can join in and participate in competitions. Basically, assessing yourself on multiple skills and upgrading yourself. So, Code Chef, Code Forces, Geeks for Geeks, At Coders, JP, etc. are all of these online judges. What you do is, whenever there are contests that are happening on all of these platforms, you join in those contests, you participate, and as and when you keep progressing ahead and keep moving ahead, you get a higher ranking, or you get more number of stars in your or you get more number of stars under your name. um, Online judges are actually a validation, external validation of the fact that you are already able to solve a lot of problems using DSA, which is something that companies look for when they are hiring you. So placement is something that becomes a little easier. So depending, no matter which kind of a college tier that you come from, no matter what kind of a brand that you bring along with yourself, the fact that you have been able to successfully do something on online judges is an external validation, and something that companies prefer, because they don't really have to then assess you on some of the basic points, and you are already good at it, is validated by an external platform, right? That's how the final outcome turns out to be. So your final outcome is not just a rank that you will have on all of these platforms. The final outcome is basically an external validation that you will end up getting. Yeah. So on online judges, for example, Code Chef, they basically, once there are competitions, you write your code. You Once you submit the code, different types of outcomes are generated, yes, on the basis of the input values, and these are all your test cases. So the online judges check if the output generated is correct or not. Yes, it can either be true or false. And this is this has this is something that is basically regulated by the kind of input values that you are creating. Yeah. Your verdict can be anything. It can be accepted, it can be wrong answer, it can be time limit exceeded, memory limit exceeded, and or any other kind of error that comes in the code because of the restrictions that were given to you at the beginning of the code itself, right? So some types of errors that keep coming are your TLE, MLE, RE, yes, or it is accepted or wrong answer, which is AC and WA. Yeah. How many people here have participated in any online judges? Can you type in a yes? Hi Saurabh. Yeah, I realize there's a small error. Hi Suraj. How many people? Okay, Saurabh, you have. Saurabh, you've participated. Rahul, you've participated. Amit has participated. Afia, B, the programmers also participated. Wonderful, wonderful. Rafiq also has. Wow, that's nice. Wow, wonderful. So, what kind of codes are finally generated? Yeah. Uh, Rahul saying that most of the time he fumbles in passing those test cases. Yeah, that happens a lot with me also, Rahul. It's not just you. But for those who are able to, for those of us who submit the code, what is the kind of error that we keep on getting? Right? Is it time limit exceeded, memory limit exceeded, runtime error, accepted, or wrong answer? What's the verdict that we get? Hi Shekhar, good to have you in the class. Hey Anish. Yeah, what's the error, or what's the outcome that we finally get? Runtime error, Suraj. Yeah, okay, okay. TLE, time limit error. Got it. Who else gets time limit errors? I'm sorry, has my feed stopped? I think there were a couple of more people who were responding. Yeah, TLE, same error. Rafiq, you get warning error. Afia, you get runtime error and TLE. Yeah, these are the common problems that we keep on getting, right? That's probably because our understanding. That's probably because our understanding of either the restrictions or the application of the algorithms that we do in the restrictions is not something that's happening correctly, and that is something that we really need to solve. Yeah, that's something that we need to solve. Saurabh, you have solved 400 plus lead codes but still don't have any errors. Is that what you're saying? Saurabh, wonderful, yeah. You've been able to do something that a lot of us, a lot of others are still struggling with. Would love to know what is it that you do, how is it that you approach these problems. Maybe we can share tips with the other learners in the session as well. Yeah? Okay. Suraj, you get compile time error. Common problems that keep on happening with us. Nothing wrong. Absolutely okay to get all of these issues and all of these errors. It's just that we need to understand how we will overcome them, and come to a conclusion. So usually when there is a time limit or a memory limit error which comes up, I usually suggest the learners to ensure that the kind of algorithm that they're using is absolutely correct without actually, because that's the place where problems do happen. Your outcome is coming correctly, but the algorithm or the approach that you have planned for it is not coming correctly. Yeah. So there are multiple platforms, there are multiple online judges that you can be a part of. There are multiple platforms where you can practice all of your coding skills and showcase all of your ranks as well, right? So one of them is Code Chef, the other one's Code Forces. I've just taken snippets or screenshots of how is it of what is it that their pages look like. So over here, I'll tell you, for instance, in Code Chef there's a section called practice and learn. There are a lot of practice problems that are there over here. Yes. We have at coders.jp, which is considered to be a little better in terms of the quality of problems at an intermediate and a high level, because there are a lot of coders that are coming from all the platforms, and this is an international platform. It's just that it's just that the quality of questions which is over there is a little more difficult. Hacker Rank, Hacker Earth are also some of them. Yes, are also some of the platforms that you could use. In fact, I think my list of, I have a feeling yes here. Yeah. The list of online judges, like I've mentioned over here, Code Forces, Code Chef, Hacker Rank, Hacker Earth is something that Rafika suggested. Online judges, Lead Code. Saurabh has solved 400 plus lead codes already. Yeah. And coding competitions with Google.com, many platforms like this. How to get started is one of the first key questions that keeps getting asked, and that would have come to your mind also. Yes, for those of us who are not already doing this, for those of us who are not already doing competitive programming, the best way to go about doing it is actually starting with one programming language, choosing a language that you're comfortable with, not thinking that Java is going to be better or Python is more extensively used. If you're good at C++, if you're good at Java, if you're good at Python, choose the language that you are good at and most comfortable at. It's a tough journey. Online judges, competitive programming is a very tough journey, and you should absolutely be sure and comfortable of what you are working with. Yeah, sign up on any of the online judges or coding challenge websites and start solving their practice problems. Be very thorough and sure of learning about data structures and algorithms. It's very vital to solving complex coding issues and understanding how to reduce the time limit error and memory limit error and all of these problems. Yeah. um, Guys, just want to understand, since a couple of you, 8 9 of you in the session, were saying that you've already participated in online judges. Yes. Have you any time gone back after solving a question to see what was really the right answer? Do you read the editorials? Do you try and understand how you could have solved the problem better? Is this something that any of us do? Saurabh, you have a rank of 1766 on CodeChef. Yeah, Saurabh seems to be doing it. Yes. Okay. How about the others? Okay, Aditya says that you use C++ for competitive programming, but you find yourself comfortable with other programming languages in which you do your app development work. Should you make a switch? Interesting question. Aditya, I think you can make a switch if you're comfortable with another language. I don't think there's a problem with that. Yeah. Rahul, you do that only when you can't solve the questions. Absolutely. So, guys, there's a concept called upsolving, wherein whether after you've not been able to solve a particular problem, you try and understand why you were not able to solve it, and then you attempt it once again. Yes, you attempt it once again, which is what upsolving is all about. So, upsolving on online judges is something which is very very important, because it so happens that you're stuck. Just look at this dog which is in the image over here. You're stuck, you're moving ahead, you're somehow able to find a way in which you can go through and get the outcome, but that's not the best way to do it. In a virtual contest, you're trying very hard solving a problem, the contest eventually ends. You, after that, after the contest ends, you go to the editorial and look for the questions that you have not been able to solve, but after that also you're not able to get the idea, or feel confident enough to solve a particular problem. Then you take an hour to understand, and then even after that you then end it and then you leave it, right? Competitive programming is really very tough. There are a lot of things that you stumble upon for the first time. So unless you keep on upgrading yourself in your learning, upgrading yourself in your concepts, I think it becomes very difficult to survive in the world. Analyzing and solving problems after the contest, especially the ones that you have not been able to solve, and also the ones that you have been able to solve, is what upsolving is all about. Something that a lot of a lot of high ranking people on these platforms end up doing. Yeah. So at that time you may be able to understand the task, you may have tried to solve it, you came up with the solution, but it still give you an error, or you did not have enough time to finish or check the solution, or for example you ended up having, what are the final what was one of the errors that you said? Passing the test cases, right? If these are the problems that you ended up facing, then going through the editorials and reattempting the problem after they have already ended is the thing that you should be doing. Yeah. The obviously the results of online contests will not change after a competition has ended, but you will have the time to calmly, patiently recall all your thoughts, get all your ideas together, and then try and solve the same problem without the pressure of a time restriction. And that's something which I have realized has helped. Saurabh, I think, was saying that he also upsolves. Saurabh, I'm sure this has helped you. And Rahul, you've also said that you've also said that I think you upsolve, but that is only when you cannot solve the questions, right? It's important to do all of these things even when you can solve the questions, in order to understand better ways, in order to find what others are doing and trying to learn it the same way, right? For example, there was a particular problem and you used a linear search over there. Now you got the answer, your answer is passed as well. 2 days after the competition, the online judge competition has ended, 2 days after that you go back and see what other people have done. You see in the chats, you see in the comments about what people are writing, etc., and then you realize, oh, there's a way called there's something called a binary search as well, which is taking half the amount of time and is much faster. You read about binary search in one of the comments, and then you actually start learning about it. You learn about it on Unacademy platform, you learn about it online, and then you start doing it once again. Like, this complete process is what we call upsolving. Does this make sense to you guys? Have you been able to understand this? The whole process makes you really stronger. You, wherever you are stuck, it is just going to help you unclog that and get unstuck. And yeah, you will eventually then start looking for similar problems to try and solve some of the concepts that you have learned, and keep moving ahead. Yeah. Saurabh, it's made sense to you. Rahul, you'll do that going ahead. Thank you, Rahul. Wonderful to hear that. Do that for all the problems and not just the ones that you've not been able to solve. Yeah. Uh, Guys, I kind of put down some of the things that I do in online judges, how much time I spend, because that's something that people are confused with, right? How much time you should spend on understanding the problem, attempting the problem, trying to solve, and debugging, because unless you have these limitations set for yourself, you will not be able to do it successfully, right? Even after you've set goals, even after you've realized that yes, you will upsolve, but getting stuck during competitions is still something that happens, right? So guys, the best way to get out of this is by is actually by understanding where and how much time you end up spending in each of the sections in each of the modules. I have divided the whole journey of competitive programming into multiple phases. I call the first phase as understanding of problem statement. I call the second phase as the thinking phase. The third phase is the code sketch phase. The fourth phase is the actual coding phase. The fifth phase as the debugging phase. And that's when I completely end it, right? So, what is it that I do in each of these stages, and how is it that you can define this for yourself? The first phase is understanding the problem statement, right? I've written 15 minutes, for example, over here, but these are not the timings that you should be following. You should be defining these timings for yourself, right? I'll tell you what I did, right? I started solving some very basic problems on platforms like CodeChef, beginner level easy problems on these platforms, and trying to understand how much time I spend in learning the problem statement and thinking about the solution, in actually writing the code and in debugging. I started doing this for a lot of beginner and intermediate level problems, and then decided that how much time I will actually spend in competitions. Okay, so yeah, so the first phase, when I say defining a problem statement, spend a certain amount of time in just understanding a problem statement. Yeah, you, if you read the problem statement at one go, you might think that, you know what, I'm comfortable understanding this makes sense, let me actually try solving the question. You read it for maybe 5 minutes, maybe you read it for even lesser than 5 minutes, and then go ahead and start solving. Yeah, there's a very famous quote, I think, by one of the famous physicians. I'm not recalling who it is, but if I have 60 minutes to solve a problem, I will spend 59 minutes in defining the problem, right, understanding the problem statement, and then going about doing it. So yeah, even it usually takes less time to understand the problem statement, because we think that we've been able to read once and understand it completely, but spend that much time in it, understand, break it down, come back, if you've not been able to solve it right now, come back in a couple of months and then try to solve it, right? That's your first phase of understanding the problem statement. The second phase is your thinking phase, where you have already designed some sort of a solution or an approach to the problem, and you start thinking about how you will solve it. Your thinking phase is the approach phase, or deciding of algorithm. Yes, deciding of algorithm, understanding of data structure is what helps over here the most. Some approach, and some approach is what we take at this particular step. Yeah, Einstein said that. I wasn't sure though, Saurabh. Thank you. But yeah, if at this step, once we begin to approach the problem, we are not able to still think of a solution, think of a way in which we should go about implementing this problem, we can take a pause at this stage. If we are not able to solve it, we can take a pause at this stage. We can take a look at the editorial. If that's available, we can take a look at the editorial. If the editorial is also very difficult, then just read it, read it at that particular instance and park it later. Come back to it after like a couple of weeks, when you feel that you've reached at a phase where you're able to solve those kind of problems. Once I entered a competition which is very, very advanced level, and I was only at a basic level of learning. So I came back after a couple of months, and when I had to go from my journey of beginner to advanced, I kind of started searching what are the questions and what are the concepts that are asked in these online judges for advanced level people, and I started learning about those concepts, and I progressed much faster. Yeah, that was one of the things that I did. Rahul, Saurabh, because you are already active on these platforms, maybe this is one of the techniques that you could use. Yes. Rahul, you're saying that sometimes you get caught up in understanding these constraints. Yeah, that's something that happens, Rahul. So, in such situations, we need to identify, our weak points. Data structures and algorithms is usually the weak points that we have over here. So, understanding what particular kind of data structure are we not able to solve for, or what kind of algorithms are we not thorough with. That's important at this stage. Yes. The next phase that I have defined for myself is the code sketch phase. Yes, this takes about 30 minutes. If this is not the stage where you're actually typing the complete code. You have already thought of an algorithm, and you start kind of creating a structure of that algorithm in a way. Yeah, and this stage usually takes more time than I hope it will. This is not me completely typing out the whole solution, but this is me attempting to write the algorithm for This is me attempting to code the algorithm for what we will be implementing. Yeah, the next phase is coding, which is where I've taken references from the code sketch phase to actually code out the problem. 5 to 10 minutes is what I spend on this. The reason that I say 5 to 10 minutes is because we are already familiar and thorough with the syntaxes that we need to use. We've already sketched out, or we've already written the code for the algorithm. We've identified the algorithm, we've identified the data structures, and we are actually now just implementing everything, right? So implementation is easy if you've identified all of these problems, issues, corrections, or the way that you should be solving the problem. Yeah. Do you guys define it this way as well? Has anybody tried this approach where you're thinking about solving it, just writing the algorithm and then actually coding it, and the coding part takes lesser time? Yeah, Saurabh. Okay, that's wonderful. The next phase that I go about is debugging, then, right? So I have already written the code. I have started getting errors in the code as well, right? And debugging is the stage that most of us give up at. Debugging was the stage where I would give up at the most amount of time. So also having a sense of where you get stuck, where you are not able to solve something, and what is that place where you might think of quitting, are important to know, so that that stage is where you can be you can be generous and you can give to yourself enough time for it, right? So debugging stage, I've given 45 minutes to myself, but debugging might not take as much time for the for others, right? All of these need to be defined for yourself, all of these need to be defined individually. These are just timings that I have established for myself. So I have a solution, it gets rejected, there is some sort of an error that I'm getting, but I have kept the restrictions in mind and then written the algorithm, right? So for example, if there was a search that need to be there was a search from an array, we needed to search something, a search algorithm had to be written, and there was a time limit constraint around it, then I have used binary tree instead of using linear sorry, I have used binary search instead of using linear search. It's something that I have established at the stage of writing the algorithm, at the stage of conceptualization, my thinking phase and my code sketch phase, right? So at the stage of debugging, I'm not changing my base algorithm, right? At the phase of debugging, I've already established the algorithm. I am at a stage where I can no longer change all of these things, because that will take me a lot more time. So right now the only problem is to debug, yes, and find what you have done wrong. Or in this particular stage, online platforms are very very helpful. You get an error, you google it, you try to solve it accordingly. This stage annoys me a lot, but it's really important to embrace the problem. Sometimes I feel like I'm not able to solve it, so I take a break for some time and then come back to it. But I do spend 45 minutes, 1 hour on just debugging, because this is where my weakness lies a little bit, and you need to identify this for yourself also, guys. Yeah. So only after making it through all of these stages, and now only after making through all of these stages is when I go to the editorial. In case I'm not able to solve, I basically go to the editorial even before. So it's not like yeah, it's not like I'm very very particular about this. And wherever I'm getting stuck, I either try to read books about it, watch MIT open course lectures on algorithms, because that's where I find most of the help. Yeah. Would love to understand what are the stages for you where you get stuck the most, and how do you resolve them? My weak link has always been the debugging part, yes. But I know a lot of people get stuck on the stage of thinking phase as well. If you're someone who's realized that thinking phase is where you are getting stuck, then guys, refreshing your memory, relearning on data structures and algorithms is the thing to do. Yeah. Saurabh, optimization for time and space is what you are getting stuck at. Okay. Yeah. So that's probably because um, you have either not identified the data structure correctly, or your algorithm is not the right one. Is that safe to conclude, Saurabh? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, these are some of the things that we face and we are not able to solve for ourselves. So like like Saurabh identified for himself that optimization for time and space is not something that he's been able to do, so which is probably because the underlying algorithm or the underlying trick to solve that is not something that he's been able to identify, right? Most of the times where I go where I get stuck is also D or E, although in some problems C becomes an issue for me when I've been able to identify an algorithm. But a lot of times my problem comes in the fact, or my problem came in the fact that I wasn't able to get to the right algorithm in spite of knowing the basics. I want to understand from you guys what happens with you the most. Type in A B C D E. What is it that you face trouble with? What is it that you face challenge with? Is it lack of time, which is why you're not able to attempt a question? Is it that you tried but you were not able to attempt it? There were bugs. You don't know what you had to do there. Uh, you could not come up with a solution despite knowing the basics. Evaluate yourself, guys. It's very very essential for us to do so. Bugs in implementation, don't know the algorithm. Yeah, could not come up with a solution despite knowing the basics. Rahul, which one happens the most? Give me that. Like with me, also CDE happens the most. A and B happens for only beginner level learners. Aniket, I want one. I want one which happens the most, because I'll be able to tell you which stage you are at. If it's lack of time, then competitive programming is probably not right for you. Yeah. Ayush could not come up with a solution despite knowing the basics. Rahul is saying bugs in implementation. Okay, interesting. Uh, what else? What else? Who else? Come on, guys. Assessing yourself is very, very good. Helps a lot in upgrading yourself as well. Okay, so Rahul, if you say that bugs in implementation is where you are having the most problem, then probably just refreshing all your syntaxes is what will help out. Your concepts seem to be absolutely all right. Yes, you have been able to implement for some of the underlying algorithms, you've been able to identify all of these things correctly. So yeah, practicing is what will help you, and not practicing newer things, but practicing at length of something that you already know. Yeah. Ayush could not come up with a solution despite knowing the basics. That's happening because, yeah, we know the basics, but we're not even sure of the kind of algorithms that we would go about implementing here. Data structures and algorithms, having a thorough understanding of data structures and algorithms is what will help. Yeah. And D, don't know the underlying algorithm or trick. We've not been able to identify the algorithm because we've not been able to understand the problem as well, right? So yeah, D and E are kind of similar. In E, it is also possible that we knew the concepts, but we were still not able to come up with a solution. Again, data structures and algorithms are what will help us get out of this. If anybody's answer has been A or B, then you are even at a pre-beginner level where actually participating in online judges might not be the best thing for you, but practicing problems might be. Let me actually open the Code Chef platform and show you how you can practice some problems. No, this one. Uh, I'm going to give you guys some context of how you can do this. There's a section on CodeChef called Practice and Learn, and inside that there's a section called Practice Problems by Difficulty Level. Yeah, I hope all of you can see my screen. Practice problems by difficulty level is one of the places where you can go to understand where exactly you stand in terms of competitive programming. Yeah, this is like a self assessment for yourself. Once you click over here, you will be taken to a section like this. There will be six different sections called beginner, easy, medium, hard, challenge, and peer. Go to beginner, go to easy, go to medium, wherever you think you fit in correctly, and click on something called successful submission. Yeah, sort it in descending order, which means sorted from highest to lowest. Successful submission only means that how many people have been able to get this correctly, right? So for questions, for problems where successful submissions are high, which means that the problem is relatively simpler. Yeah, solve a couple of problems, assess the timings for yourself, assess each of the 5 phases for yourself, and keep moving ahead in the game. Go from beginner to easy, easy to medium, medium to hard. Once you get to a medium stage and you're able to solve a couple of problems at the medium stage, that's when you should ideally start participating in online judges as well. Yeah, so before that, just practicing for yourself, practicing your skills on these problems is something that I would recommend. Always sort your problems in a descending order of successful submissions. You'll see the top few problems that are there are so simple that 1,31,000 people have been able to solve it, like 52,000 people have been able to solve the factorial problem. It will just give you that confidence, and you will also have access to solutions, so you will know how to solve them in case you're getting stuck. Yeah. Coming back to the presentation. Yes. At times when you have been able to solve a question also, at times when you've been able to attempt a question, do you then check and assess for yourself if you've used the expected algorithm? And even if you've done it for one question, that's a good sign, right? If you have tried to understand what are multiple different ways to approach a problem, can you have implemented this in a better way to get a different outcome, and how can you improve? If any of these questions have come to your mind for at least one question throughout, then you have already thought about upsolving in some way or the other. Yeah, so the best way to go about doing it is, and the way that I suggest is this. Yeah, the last two things that you may not be able to see actually on your screen. Problems have multiple approaches. So from right this point, I'll start from problems have multiple approaches. It's best if we dig in and try to solve it. The one good way that I have learned and that I would recommend to all of you is going to the comments in the contest thread, because over there people start talking and writing about what is it that they did to solve this problem, right? Even if you are able to solve it in one particular manner, if you find another way to solve it, and because you already know what the solution will be like, you will just have a little more confidence in solving it. Yes. And other people's codes can teach us a lot of things. Implementation improves only when we start to write real code, so we need to keep writing these things, even if we understand that oh, this kind of an algorithm has been used. That's not the way that we should be doing it in in competitive programming. We need to actually be coding. Yeah. Understanding, reading the editorials, very very key, very very important, even if it is for division 1 problems, even if it is the simplest of problems, even if it takes a very low effort. Reading editorials for the problems is very important. We should never jump to the editorial without attempting the problem first. Yes, because that's cheating in a way, and that's not something that we should do. Attempt the problem first, understand where you're not able to pick up on the clues, what are you not able to follow, and then try to convey and then try to find out all this information from the editorial. Yeah. One more thing that really helps me, guys, is making notes of what I'm doing, where I'm getting stuck. This is like a quick notepad that I've created, where I write things that I haven't been able to understand, that I haven't been able to follow, and then I try to keep going back to it and try to see what all things I have learned, I have not learned, right? The good thing that helps is once you make lists and once you start ticking off things from that list, you will see yourself progressing very well, and you'll be able to achieve all your competitive programming goals in the year as well. Yeah. So upsolving is something, and because we've been speaking about it, upsolving is something that you should do within 1-2 days of the contest itself. You should not you should not keep doing it for a very long time after 10-12 days. Once you have attempted to solve a problem and you've not been able to solve it, going back to that within 1 or 2 days will still keep that thought and memory fresh in your mind. You will also be able to remember how you felt when that problem came in front of you and what were the concerns in your mind. Yes. So trying to upsolve within 1 2 days of the contest is absolutely helpful. And yeah, like I was showing, maintaining a diary or a record, keeping a note of new things, tracking your progress, understanding what more you've learned, what more you've been able to solve, is just very encouraging in this whole process. Yeah, competitive programming can get a little difficult at times. In fact, even any form of online learning can get difficult at times, so it just helps in the complete process. Yes. I want to understand how many people after this session are going to upsolve, are going to try and upsolve, are going to attempt problems after a contest has ended. And I also want all of you to create this phase wise plan for yourself. When there is a problem, how should you approach it, how much time you should spend on each of these steps. The timings you will be able to identify for yourself once you are able to solve some practice problems and understand how much time that you're spending at each stage. Yeah. Rahul very enthusiastically has said me. All the best, Rahul. Awesome. I'd love to know from you in some of the forthcoming sessions how it has worked out. Whether these tips and tricks have actually helped you out or not. Yeah? Guys, come on. This is something that all of us should be doing. Ayush will go for it. Wonderful, Ayush. That's great. Good to have you in the class as well. I think we're interacting for the first time. Ayush, yay. Good for you. Shravan, which platform provides good editorials? Shravan, I have the most experience with CodeChef. Also because I'm an educator here, so that's the platform that I keep accessing regularly. So I would suggest that. But others in the comments can also recommend other platforms, guys. I think that'll be good. Peer learning. Shravan can get help from Ayush, Rahul, and all the others who are there in the session. Yeah. So guys, just to tell you, and this is something that you already know, how problems are described on these platforms. There's a problem statement which is given, there's an input and output which is given, and certain constraints that are there. Yeah. So these constraints basically are around time limit and memory limit, exceedings or errors that we need to take care of and we need to resolve for. So all of these things are something that we should really be thorough with in understanding. So describing a problem, understanding a problem statement, understanding possible input and output values, and the constraints that are around it, right? And obviously each of the problems also has a section on examples where input and output values, that once you enter what will be the outcome, is given. This is one good section to just understand, after you've written the code, what kind of an outcome you're expecting. Yeah. Rahul is more active on Codeforces. Codeforces is a good platform as well. Shravan, maybe you can try Codeforces as well. And yeah, there are a lot of other platforms. Some of the online judges that I mentioned during the session, I'm sure all of them have great editorials. Start with one, keep going through and discover for yourself. Yeah, that's all I can say. Kush, you want to understand the best language for programming. Kush, the best language for programming is the language that you are most comfortable with. And I say this really very honestly. Someone might be very good at Java, but they might think that it's not the best way, it's not the best language because Python seems to be more in the market, etc. But whatever language you're comfortable with is important, because this whole journey in competitive programming is really very challenging. And you might give up even before you reach that stage. So if you are doing it in a language that you prefer, that you're comfortable with, you will end up going a little further than you would have done in a recommended language. I use C++. A lot of my classes on Unacademy are also around C++. I'm sure some of you know this, but yeah, depending on what you're comfortable with, try that out. Yeah, I've said this slide saying online judges will be your best friends, because it's a test that you are giving for programming contests. And yeah, they keep happening. They keep happening regularly, and you can participate in a lot of them to understand where you stand and where you assess. Having a rank on all of these platforms is something that's very, very beneficial as well. Yeah. And because they're already providing an environment where testing is happening, where your solution is getting implemented, it kind of gives you a validation about how you've done it or not. Yeah. Deptosh, hi Deptosh, how are you? Minimum requirement for C++. Deptosh, I've taken a lot of sessions around this on CodeChef. on Unacademy platform. Create a free account on Unacademy with your phone number and email ID and check out some of my classes over there. I've answered a lot of questions in this range for you. Yeah. You can also follow me on the platform, so anytime I take a free class, you'll get a notification about it. Yes. Uh, Saurabh, sharing my experience at Pesa Bazaar. Yeah, Saurabh, please ask away what is it that you would like to understand. I'll be happy to. But there's a section which I also want to cover in this, in the next 10 minutes. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. It's already 11:30 in the night, but I'm happy to answer your questions. Yeah. Rahul, what did the Java code say to the C code? Java said, "You've got no class." Thank you for bringing humor into the session, Rahul. Really appreciate it. Okay. Yeah. Uh, Yes, so we were at the point of understanding how is it that we can achieve our goals in competitive programming, and the thing that I wanted to say was set goals for yourself. I know all of you want to learn competitive programming, you've understood what it is, but if you don't set goals for yourself, if you don't decide that you know what this is how much I'm going to achieve, it may just be a learning hobby for you and not a goal that you determine for yourself. You may not be able to get to the stage that you want to be at the end of just before the placements, or whatever it is that you're aiming for. So measurable goals, how much you should be able to solve, what you should have to be what you should be able to do at the end of a particular time is something that you should define for yourself. Yeah. Be constant in learning. You now have 6 months. I'm sorry, I've written 7 months here, but you have 6 months to achieve your goals in case you want to finish a lot in this year itself. You have placements in the next year, right? If all of these are concerns that you have, then you have 7 months, which means that you need to study regularly for this. You need to define what you want to learn. This month, what is your main aim going to be? Next month, what is your focus going to be? Yeah. And how you want to go about it. So make a plan, and remember why you're doing this. Put a sticky note in front of your desk, and keep recalling why you are doing this. It could be because you want to work at a big tech giant. It is because you want to have a good salary. It is because you are very passionate about solving problems with the help of technology. Whatever it is, keep remembering it and enjoy the journey. It gets very irritating at times, guys. I know, I've been through it as well, but yeah, just stay patient through it and enjoy it. Even if you're not able to solve someday, you will be able to. Take breaks when you need. Yeah. Like it is said in Hindi, distance, heart grows fonder. I'll actually say it in English: heart grows fonder because of the distance. So once you have a little bit of space from programming, your heart will go fonder for it. Yeah. uh, okay. um Kush, I think you've deleted a couple of questions that you had. Please ask me. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Shravan, um, when did I start comparative programming? I started it in college right before placements because I was panicking about the fact that all my peers had been doing it for since second year and I will not get placed. Uh, yeah, that was my journey of starting it. I started it out of fear. Yeah, Shravan, which year of college are you in? Hmm. Saurabh, interesting question. What excites me in tech? What excites me is actually building something out of scratch, which does not exist, and creating an impact. Right. So the reason that I've worked in the financial spaces as well has been because I feel strongly about ensuring that finance is accessible to everyone through technology, and there are a lot of people who are not able to apply for loans, not able to get financing for for purchasing certain items because there isn't information about how they've been in the past, especially the low income groups and the blue collars. Those are the kind of problems that I've tried to solve in the past. Yeah, and that is what excited me in this whole space. My managers in my companies have been amazing mentors to me. I did not have to really look out and find one. Usually at your workplaces, you find them. Your managers are the ones that actually help you and guide you. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Saurabh. Shravan, oh Shravan, you're working for Dell as a contract employee. Shravan, wonderful to have you in the session. Yeah. You were asking me about competitive programming. Okay, you're already working with Dell. That's great. You want to brush up your basics and aim for big tech. Okay, Shravan, if your goal is specifically towards working in bigger tech organizations, I think the way to go about it is just trying to understand what kind of questions they ask, what kind of problems do they solve, and just focusing on that, right? So if you know, if you want to join say one of the big tech companies like Facebook or Twitter, one of the social media platforms, you know that they use a lot of graph algorithms. Their basic data structures that they have is also in the form of graphs, right? So just focusing on that, getting yourself thorough on that would be a good thing, rather than learning everything generic and starting to solve online judges, and starting to participate in online judges. Does that help you? Does that answer your question? Sahil. Sahil, what do I consider a minimum rating on CodeChef to be considered good, which you can mention in your CV? Sahil, you should be able to mention any kind of a coding, any kind of a ranking, rating, sorry, any kind of a rating on CodeChef. Why? Because even if you have like a 1 star rating, you can always say that you have started doing this a couple of months ago, and you hope or you aim to reach say 3 stars by the end of 2021, or you aim to be at 2 stars by the end of 3 months, right? It in your CV saying things like this shows that you have planned for your future, shows that you have set goals, and shows that you are working in that direction. That's just very, very impressive to any recruiter. Yeah. So even if you are at 1 star, it's okay to write it. Even if you've just started, then you can say that you've just started with competitive programming and you hope to be having 3 star by the end of 1 year, by the end of 6 months, whatever it is. And obviously, don't just write it for the sake of it. Also plan for this, right? That's what we were talking about in the session. Plan for this. Yes. How to achieve, plan for this is very, very important. I hope that answers your question, Sahil. Don't be discouraged from writing whatever is the reality. Please do write that, but always portray it in a good light, showcasing that even if it's not good right now, it's going to get better. Yeah, that's what I would do. The best ways to get yourself updated about about competitive programming in general, about coding. The best way is to keep reading, read questions, attend online classes. Yes. Keep learning new things. Every time you go through a documentation, every time just go through some of the previous online judges that have happened. See newer concepts that have come up, and try to read up about them, right? Learning from a platform is very, very essential. Learning from some people who already know how to solve it is very, very important. After learning, implement, practice, right? So my first slide was read, read, read. My next slide is code, code, code. Yeah. So pick a language whichever you're comfortable with. Try out the syntaxes, familiarize yourself with the error messages that you keep getting. Error messages are actually a step up for you, are helpful for you to step up, not a step up for you, are actually helpful for you to step up, because every time you try and solve one, you have progressed ahead, right? So and I say this to myself more than I say this to anyone else. Every time there is an error message, give it a big hug, right? Because I get irritated at this point. So I get irritated at a point where I keep getting a lot of error messages, but every time I try to solve it, I think I've grown a little, I've progressed a little ahead. And that's what we should be aiming at as well, right? So the next time you see an error message coming up, give a hug, thank them, and listen to them, because what they're saying is something that you need to correct as well. Yeah. Build a habit to check your assumptions and check your code often. Double check, triple check. Are you doing everything correctly? Very, very important, because you may end up writing the complete code and submitting the code even without realizing what mistakes you've made. Yeah. Be careful of copy pasting codes from Stack Overflow or blogs, something that all of us do, something that I also do, and I recommend others also doing. The important thing that we need to know is being vigilant about the kind of codes that we're copy pasting. It's okay to copy paste, there's nothing wrong, but also whether it is relevant to our question, whether is it giving the right answer, whether it is outdated. All of these are things that we need to check. So being very careful about it, staying vigilant about the material is very, very important. Yeah. Going slow, reviewing often, checking what you've done correctly, what you've done incorrectly. It's very important, because you should not be ashamed of going back and trying to see what you were able to do at a particular point in time. Also, keeping yourself ahead in your progress is something that helps out a lot. Yeah. And something that I've seen a lot of people do at the beginning itself, they try to make the code very pretty first, start commenting, start indenting before even making it work. First make the code work, then make it pretty. That's more important than actually making the code work is more important than actually making it pretty. Working and ugly is better than broken. Yeah. Okay. Saurabh, yeah, good night, Saurabh. See you in some of the other classes. Thanks for sharing your experiences with all of us. Rahul, codes from Stack Overflow haven't worked for you even once. Yeah, Rahul, I think a lot of them are outdated as well, but sometimes they do end up working. But we still need to make a lot of changes in whatever we pick out from there. That's something that I've had to do. Yeah, if you just copy paste from there, then they don't work out. I agree. Yeah. Okay. In competitive programming, I also want to leave you with a warning before we end the session. It might get very overwhelming if we look at the top scorers, and yeah, if we look at the top scorers and we realize how far people have come along. A lot of times, the way that we approach problems in competitive programming is not always right? Because the scores or the solutions that get you to these top scores are actually not examples of good code. They could be written in a format which makes the answer come really very fast, but that's not the way that you want to go ahead and do it in companies, right? So because this is a website, this is a game that people are playing, then yeah, even if solutions are working, they're not necessarily what would be recommended in a professional setting. So short codes always don't mean clear codes, and online judges are fun, but make sure that you understand what is it that you're doing on these platforms. Yes. uh, yeah, I think I want to leave you with this particular thought, um, and also giving you a little bit of encouragement about going ahead and solving questions, participating in online judges. Yes. uh, Hi Rahul, thank you for joining in, Rahul, and thanks for sharing your experiences. I've enjoyed interacting with you, and I hope to see you in some of the other classes. Yeah, guys, everyone, I want to leave everyone on this particular note: being careful and being encouraged about solving in online judges, but also being very aware of what you are doing. Yeah. On this note, I think we can end the session. I would have explained you about, I would have actually spoken about some of the new batches that we are launching for software engineering, but I think it's too late, and yeah, it'll just be exhausting. But I'm going to share the slide on the final plans that we have in case you want to purchase a competitive programming subscription, and end at this note. Thank you everyone for attending the session so late in the night. I've had a wonderful time in interacting with all of you. Thank you, Diptosh. Nice to chat with you. Please feel free to ask me if there are any other questions. I can stay a couple of minutes and then end them. Yeah? Good night. See you guys. Thank you. Okay, there are no further questions. We'll end the session on this. Bye, guys.